Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Kenny, and just like every other week, I'm here again to talk about movies. This week is 1917. No, this week's movie is 1917. This week we're in 2020, and this movie came out in 2019.
What year is it?
It was brand new.
No. What year is it?
Deal with it. This is a movie I would typically skip. I didn't know enough about World War I, and I figured I would just be lost the whole time. But this movie came with a gimmick.
This movie is written and designed to be one shot.
Basically one tracking shot.
In one long shot.
It's all one shot.
The entire movie was shot to look as if it was done in one take. So I figured I'd check it out. I mean, at the very least, I'd be entertained by trying to find the spots where they stitched together different takes. Well, no. This film style had a very different effect on me. I loved it. I felt like I was actually another character in the movie. The camera never went anywhere a person couldn't. There were no like high crane shots sweeping over landscapes. It was always just there with the main characters. Also, we never cut to any other scenes happening somewhere else where we learn something the main characters don't know. So other than the main plot, which was explained in the very beginning of the movie, a couple of soldiers, Tom and Will, are ordered to travel across the war zone to another battalion to warn them about an ambush.
Deliver this to Colonel Mackenzie. It is a direct order to call off tomorrow morning's attack.
I wasn't expected to know anything about World War I. Any fears about the who's and the what's and the where's that, I must admit, I don't know.
Are you stupid or something?
It didn't matter. I was just along for the ride. Now, for a movie that just follows a few characters, in this case just two, that puts a lot on their shoulders trying to carry the whole movie. Well, George McKay, or McKee, I'm not quite sure how to pronounce his name, and Dean Charles Chapman delivered. These two were extraordinary. There's one scene in particular that gets me every time. Now, I'm assuming that you've either already seen the movie or you don't care about spoilers. If you do, leave the video now and come back after you watch it. Along their way, Tom is stabbed and he bleeds to death. Now, keep in mind, there are no cuts. The camera stays with the two of them while Tom slowly dies. The movie's decision to do this all in one take, it allows the drama to unfold so organically. But it's their performances that sell this so well. Tom goes through all kinds of emotions: anger, fear, confusion.
I've been hit. What was it?
Until he eventually dies quietly and peacefully. Will, all the while, is trying to hold it together to be brave for his friend until, he finally just breaks down after he dies. And this scene is so powerful and touching. This is a traumatic moment that will stay in Will's life for the rest of his life. And you can really see that here. I also especially like his performance in the very next scene where he's trying to hold it together in the truck full of other soldiers, even though they're swapping fun stories trying to keep their moment positive.
Never in my 200 years as a soldier have I seen such a sorry excuse for a latrine stitch.
Will is still dealing with the loss of his friend, and you can really see that here on his face. This movie did a great job at humanizing soldiers during the war, and not just our main characters, not just the good guys. They humanized the other side as well. There's a moment when they're coming up on the enemy bunker, and Will sees a dead soldier looking right back at him. It's a haunting moment, but even still, I feel like it adds a lot of sympathy to the dead soldier, even though he's on the enemy side. Also, when they're exploring the enemy bunker, Will comes across a family photo. This is another very sentimental moment that didn't need to be in the movie, but I really liked it being there to really humanize not just the good guys, but the bad guys. It reminds me that we all have a family to go home to, not just the good guys. Finally, what I really like about this movie is the sense of closure. The movie starts with our main characters sitting in a quiet field. You'd never guess that they were in the middle of a war zone. The two are given a very straightforward task, even though it may be difficult. And when that task is complete, the movie ends with our main character sitting in a quiet field. It reminds us where the movie started, and we get a chance to reflect on everything that's happened along the way. Okay, a few cons about the movie. The filming being all in one take is not perfect. There aren't a huge variety of film styles, and watching the movie can be a bit boring. Not necessarily the first time. The first time, it's very engaging for all the reasons that I just mentioned. But the scenes all kind of blur together. There aren't a lot of sharp transitions from one moment to the next. I have a bit of a hard time with this complaint because of the fact that, the good far outweighs the bad. And the movie and the film style left a lasting impression on me. But it just makes the movie something that I won't necessarily want to watch again and again. One scene in particular that bothered me the most was the plane crash. This plane gets hit and it has to make a crash landing. And it just so happens to land right next to them and they have to dive out of the way. For how subtle the rest of the movie is, this scene always sticks out as the most contrived. I think it would have been better to have the plane crash kind of farther away and then have them run to it rather than it just fall right in their lap. And that's about it. The good, the bad, all together, this is definitely worth a watch. 1917 is a terrific movie that's not so much about World War I as it is a movie that just kind of takes place during World War I. I think this is a movie that will appeal to everyone, not just history buffs. If you haven't yet, go check it out, even though I spoiled it for you. Now before you take off, click that like button, click that share button, and click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, everyone, and until next time, let's not just watch movies, let's talk about them too.